The summer I'll never forget. 17 is a strange age. You're almost an adult, but at the same time, you have no idea who you really are. You can quote Nietzsche, argue with teachers about the meaning of life, and yet spend hours lying on your bed listening to the same album because one single lyric suddenly cut you to the core. Everything inside you is stretched tight like a string. Your skin feels the wind, your heart catches every touch of a glance, and your imagination works stronger than any movie. I was 17 that summer, the last vacation before graduation. I went to visit my grandmother in the village, as I did almost every summer before. The place was ordinary. 3 streets, 1 store, an old school, a vacant lot where we had kicked a ball all our childhood. But that year the village seemed different, as if time had slowed down there, become softer, clearer. Maybe because I myself had changed. I was never brave, neither among my peers nor within myself. I always felt like an observer, quiet, detached. I listened to conversations but rarely joined in. It was easier for me to experience things inside than to explain them in words. I carried a notebook where I wrote down thoughts that seemed important. Sometimes they were song fragments, sometimes snippets of dreams. Back then, I didn't know these notes would become the only way to not forget that summer. I met her on the second day. I was walking down the road outside the village, the one that led to the river. The sun beat down on my back, bumblebees buzzed, and suddenly, like a switch flipped, I saw her. She was sitting by a birch tree, barefoot with a book on her knees. Her light hair was tied up, her face pale and focused. I immediately understood she wasn't from around here. Too different, confident but not arrogant. Calm but not distant. There was some invisible music in her, the kind you want to follow without knowing where it leads. I passed by as if by chance and stole a glance. Then again, she didn't notice, or pretended not to. I left but stayed there, mentally, until evening, until night, until dawn. The next day I went to the river again, just in case, and she was there again. Wearing a different dress this time, lying on her back, staring at the sky. I walked slower, tried to breathe evenly, pretended to look for berries. It went on like that for a week. Every morning I took the same path. Sometimes she was there, sometimes not. When she wasn't, I felt something cold in my chest. When she was, the day gained shape. She became a landmark, like a compass by which I measured life. I didn't know who she was. Asking my grandmother meant revealing myself. I wasn't brave enough to get closer. I just lived around her like a satellite around a planet. But everything in me was drawn to her. My gaze, my breath, my thoughts. One day in mid-July, it started raining. Real rain with thunder, wind, the sound of raindrops beating on the roof. Couldn't sleep. Sat by the window, listened to the drops tapping on the sill, and suddenly decided, tomorrow I would go up to her. Tomorrow not just pass by, not almost, not nearby. I would say something, smile, let her know. But in the morning, she wasn't there. Not that day, not the next, not ever again, as if she had vanished. I asked my grandmother. She didn't know. I walked around the village, peeking into yards as if by accident. But she was gone, without a trace. And only once, several days later, I found something under that same birch, a forgotten handkerchief, white with a blue embroidered flower. I picked it up and pressed it to my chest. Since then, it has lain in my desk drawer. I returned to the city changed. I couldn't explain what had happened. We never spoke, never touched, didn't know each other's names. But she was my first love. That feeling didn't arise from words or deeds. It happened like a storm, like a revelation. Changed me. After her, I started noticing things. Music in the noises of the street. Beauty in random passers-by. I began writing poems, stories, something strange and almost incoherent. But in every text, she was there. Not directly, but like a light breaking through the curtains. Years passed. I fell in love again. Sometimes it was mutual, sometimes painful, sometimes all kinds of ways. But never like then. Never so pure. So wordless. Sometimes I think, maybe I made her up? Maybe she's a figment woven from longing, loneliness, desire? But then I open the drawer, take out the handkerchief, feel the softness of the fabric, the fineness of the threads, and realize, no, it happened. She was real. We were. And now, every time summer begins, I hear the rustling of the birch and feel that distant, incredible, first love echo inside me. My first love, my first disappearance, my first miracle. 10 years later, I rarely remembered that summer directly. It lived somewhere deeper than memory, more like a feeling, in the scent of wet grass after rain, in the glance of a random girl on the subway that suddenly made my heart skip a beat, in rare, almost unconscious movements when I took that same handkerchief with the blue flower out of my desk drawer and just held it in my hands. I had changed. I was 27, worked as a designer at an architecture studio, rented a small but cozy apartment on the top floor of a building overlooking the railroad tracks. Life flowed evenly, without sharp turns, without passions. I was careful with feelings, as if having once experienced too much, I had learned to keep them on a leash. Everything changed one morning. It was September. I missed my train because my alarm didn't go off. I cursed as I ran along the platform, but it was too late. The doors closed right in front of me. The next train wasn't for another hour. I went down to a small café by the station, gray, unremarkable, with peeling windowsills. I ordered coffee, sat by the window, opened my notebook, a habit from school. I almost didn't notice when she entered the cafe. First, just a silhouette, smooth, familiar, like caught out of the corner of my eye in a water reflection. Then a step, posture, the way she held her book. And only when she took down her hood, I realized. My heart clenched like a black hole opening inside. It was her. I couldn't be mistaken. The same girl. The one by the birch tree. The one I never spoke to. She looked different. More grown up, of course. More collected. She wore a long coat, a pale shawl, a ring on her finger. But her eyes, exactly the same. That stillness. That focus, as if she had always been part of something greater. I sat still, watching her order, sit down, take out a book. I didn't know what to do. Say something? Smile? Just leave? Everything felt wrong, unreal, like reality had been swapped and I was just an extra in someone else's movie. I left without approaching her. Then I returned to that cafe many times. Hope is a strange thing. It can live in the smallest cages, drink water from the air, feed on expectation. I came every morning, sat by the same window, sometimes on weekends, sometimes in the evening. All September, October, November, she never came. I started to think I had lost her again, that she was just an echo of the past, the last greeting from that youthful summer. But one day, when I was almost letting go, everything shifted again. I left the cafe, walked toward the subway, when I heard footsteps behind me, even light. Then a slight breeze brushed my shoulder. I turned. She was there, 10 steps away, framed by autumn trees like cut from that summer years ago. She looked straight at me, smiled, gently, almost imperceptibly. She held a notebook, holding it the same way I hold mine. I don't know how long the moment lasted. Maybe a second, maybe forever. Then she lifted her hand, offered me something, a small white bundle. I walked toward her, took it, unfolded it. It was a handkerchief with a blue flower, mine, the same one, folded differently than I used to keep it. Inside was a piece of paper. One line written in fine, delicate handwriting. Sometimes love grows in silence, just to one day say everything without a word. I looked up. She was still there, then nodded softly with quiet certainty, and walked away, not hurried, not afraid, as if she had left behind something that would never disappear. I stood in the middle of the street, clutching the handkerchief, and felt something ripen inside me, like the 17-year-old me stirring, full of wonder, openness, and silence, where love is born. And I understood. I didn't want to lose it again. From that moment, everything began anew. She didn't disappear this time, and I was no longer afraid to take a step forward.